Bringing people and communities together on seclosounds.org.
Your listening station.
Hi, I'm Terry Sullivan and welcome to today's Sticks radio show, the last one of September. My God, the year has flown by already. Today on the show I have two guests. I have Milkshake's very own Amy Thompson. She'll be talking about Milkshake and the live stage show she's involved in. But first I have on the show, as my guest, John Illsley. He's the former bass player with Dire Straits. We're going to be talking to him in a few minutes after we play this from the new album, Testing the Water. This is Nothing to Do.
But there's nothing
On today's show, I have the pleasure of a gentleman, a band I admire greatly. He was part of the original lineup. The band were Dire Straits. My guest today is John Illsley. How you doing, John?
I'm very well, thank you, Terry.
Good. You've got a brand new album out, which is called Testing the Water, which I have, and it's really, really good. I really enjoy it. It sounds a little bit like Dire Straits, but Dire Straits of the 2000s, I would guess.
Dire Straits of the 2000s, that's interesting. Yeah, well, I suppose there's no coincidence, really. Having been sort of, involved from the start, and so there's going to be that sort of influence sort of seeping through the music, and that's just the way I play, really.
There's nothing wrong in it. Nothing wrong in it. I mean, let's face it, Dire Straits at one time were, the biggest band in the world?
Oh, I hate those sort of titles. I think we enjoyed, let's put it this way, we enjoyed a very good and successful time.
Yeah, very. The
80s were pretty amazing, but the band did sort of stir up quite a few people, so that was nice.
That was great. I must admit, I remember seeing you back in 1978 before you were famous, before you really hit the big time with Sultans of Swing, and even then I spotted that there was something going on there, and I was only 17 at the time, I think. So I'm giving my age away as well now. So
you're just a bit younger than us, then.
Oh, a little bit, yeah. It's a little bit, yeah. But you were born in Leicester originally,
I was born in Leicester, 49.
In 49, well, I wasn't going to give the game away on with your age.
I don't mind about that at all.
Okay, but then you came down to study at Kettering near Northampton.
I was in Kettering for a year, trying to get a couple of A levels under my belt, because I like a lot of people in that time, spent too much time playing the guitar and not enough time studying chemistry and physics and all the other stuff. So I got a little bit behind and went to Kettering for a year, and still kept playing the guitar, so that didn't work.
So how did you get from Kettering to meeting up with Mark Knopfler and the rest of the boys?
Oh, well, I had to get a job, to be honest, and so I found myself trooping down to London and getting a job, would you believe, with a company that imported timber for building down in Belvedere in Kent. Mm-hmm. I worked there for a few years and then realised that wasn't really for me, and managed to get into Goldsmiths College and ended up in a council flat in Deptford, and then David became my flatmate. That's a sort of a fairly quick sort of synopsis, and consequently met Mark, and we got on very well, and we started playing together, and hey presto, everything fell into place. Yeah,
the rest of this is history, really, isn't it? I suppose.
Well, some people say, "Oh, you were lucky," and all this, but what is luck? Luck is basically being in, if you like, a particular place at a particular time. You can call it lucky, but it's circumstances, isn't it? Really, and also not just the circumstances, but I've played with a lot of different people in my life. But when Mark, myself, and Dave and Nick started to play together, there was a kind of chemistry which felt quite unusual. So, although one had played with lots of different people and lots of different styles of music, for the last 10 years before that, I think we could all spot there was something a little bit different about this feel we had together.
Because you were, let's face it, in the 80s it was very diverse, the music, the late 70s and 80s. I mean, you had the punk, you had the new romantics, as it was called, and the sort of the electronic bands, the Depeche Modes, the Pet Shop Boys, etc. And you were fundamentally a guitar band.
Well, I think that the basic premise of all this is that Dire Straits has always sort of ploughed its own way through, ploughed its own furrows. So it didn't really particularly get affected by any change in fashion in the music business, or the punk thing, or the new romantics and all that kind of thing. And so, I mean, we just sort of basically did our own thing. And I suppose in some ways it makes you stand out a little bit against the rest if everybody's doing the same kind of thing, with electronic music or whatever it is. I mean, as I say, we just sort of ploughed our own line, and that's what we did really from the start to the finish.
And I suppose really, the MTV was the sort of the helped you along the way, didn't it? If you like to put it that way, because of they used Dire Straits' Money for Nothing.
Yeah, that's quite ironic, really, isn't it?
Was, wasn't it?
If you think about what the song is about, it's rather taking the mickey out of MTV, and they put it on heavy rotation. So, I mean, what can you say about that apart from thank you very much?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's absolutely unbelievable, isn't it?
Weird, really. But, these things happen, and, I suppose it captured people's imagination. And also, it was a great video that Steve Barron did for that, with the computer graphics. It was one of the first ones, I think, that had been done in that kind of way. So that was slightly different.
Yeah. I mean, you have a new album out. It's called Testing the Water. I've been playing it. I really enjoy listening to it. Do you want to sort of tell the listeners a little bit about the album?
Well, it's simply it's a collection of songs which I've been working on for a few years, really, and there was a bit of a lull in the middle because I got a bit ill with this leukemia thing, so I had to get myself treated in London. And in fact, while I was in hospital, I wrote a few of the songs for the record, actually, things like Railway Tracks and When God Made Time and Darling Heart. I think I started to write that in there as well. And I'm the sort of person who has an iPhone with me all the time when I'm playing the guitar, because I never know when something interesting might come out. And I always keep a notepad with me, so like most people who write, you're just constantly trying to get ideas together and feeding stuff into the computer that's supposed to be in your brain somewhere, and then eventually it sort of jiggles itself all around, and you end up with some songs that sort of make sense together. And there was a few things I left off this record because they didn't really fit into what the mood of the rest of it. And I mean, essentially the songs are a reflection where I am right now in life, and where I feel that some parts of the world are in right now. It's a bit of a messy business we've got going on, and I was trying to think about and write about that a bit.
What comes first normally when you're writing? Is it I'm not being a songwriter myself. Is it the words, or is it the medley, or is it?
Well, they kind of run along together in a sense. I mean, I can be putting an idea down on the piano, and I've written something down, a few lines about something somewhere else, and then suddenly you think, oh, well, those lines actually fit that, or that music fits that sort of like chorus, or whatever. You've just got this stuff. When I wake up in the morning, this sort of nonsense flying around in my head, and go, by the time I've gone downstairs and make a cup of tea, I've usually forgotten it, but I try, all you end up doing is trying to put this jigsaw puzzle together.
Yeah, so it sort of, they come together.
Well, it's sometimes sometimes it's easier than other times. Some things are really quite tricky to put together. And I was trying to get the riff on Railway Tracks. I was trying to get that sort of riff into something, and then suddenly the song just sort of came together, and I thought, oh, that riff fits in there somehow, but it's in a slightly strange timing. So I changed the riff around a bit, and things like that. I mean, you just fiddle around really until it all makes sense. It's the same thing as if you're painting a picture. Fiddle around until you're happy that it's done.
Yeah, because that's one of your hobbies, isn't it? Painting.
It is. It's just something I really enjoy. I like the isolation of it. Because when you're working in music, you tend to be working with, well, certainly the Dire Straits days, with hundreds of people. But now it's a little bit more restrained these days. Yeah,
well, you've had good success at being a painter as well. You had your an exhibition back in 2007, didn't you?
Yeah, I've had a few actually. I mean, I got very, very deeply into it for a while, and I think it was actually quite therapeutic when I discovered when I got diagnosed in '99 with leukemia. So I mean, leukemia is a sort of slow process for a lot of people. It's fast for others, but for me it was quite slow. And I think the actual painting and the process of painting and being in that sort of solitary situation, it sort of centres the mind quite a lot. I mean, I'm not the one to make too much of it. When you are drawn into a particular space where you're in a sort of life-threatening area, it makes you think about things a bit differently. Obviously.
So that sort of took your mind off the